Alright, so today we are going to compare fractions greater than 1 by using benchmark fractions and discussing why these fractions are greater than, less than, or equal to. So the first three fractions that we will look at are 13/4, 3 6/8, and 9/2. And when we look at these, we know that at least one of them is greater than 3. So our number line will have the endpoints of 3. And I guess that they're all, if we're comparing them, they're all probably within a few. So I'll go to 5. So the endpoints 3 and 5, which would make the middle 4. When we look at these fractions, there's no real way to tell right away which one is largest or which one is smallest, because they don't have like denominators, and they're not only just a little bit over one whole, but they're a lot over one whole. And there's two improper fractions and a mixed number. So this is where a number line comes in very handy. Personally, I like to start with the smallest denominator when partitioning my number line. So I look at these. I have a 4, I have an 8, and I have a 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to partition the number line, each whole, in half. And I want to place 9/2 on my number line. So if we use our skills of, we're going to group count by multiples of 2 to find out how many whole pieces are in 9/2. So use your fingers. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, too high. So 4. I was able to count by halves 4 times. So there are 4 wholes in 9/2. 2, 4, 6, 8. What's the difference between 8 and 9? 1/2. So on our number line, we can place 4 whole pieces plus another half. So this right here is 9/2. Now we're going to go to the one with the second lowest denominator, which would be out of 4 and 8, 4. So partition each whole now in fourths. Looking at 13/4, we want to find how many whole pieces are in 13/4. So go ahead and group count by fours. 4, 8, 12, 16, too high. So there's 3 whole pieces. 3 whole pieces, which got us to 4, 8, 12. What's the difference between 12 and 13? 1/4. So on our number line, we need to go to 3 plus 1/4. 3 whole pieces and an extra 1/4. So right here we have 13/4. And now our last one, we need to partition our number line into eighths. So partition each whole into eighths. And we have the whole number of 3. And we need to go 6/8. So the whole number of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/8. All right. Now we can see that 9/2 is the greatest, followed by 3 6/8, followed by 13/4. So how we would respond? Oh no. Okay. How we would respond is 9/2 is greater than 3 6/8, and 3 6/8 is greater than 13/4. So we've compared those three fractions and found that 9/2 was the greatest, 3 6/8 was right in the middle, and 13/4 was the least. Now we're going to look at two improper fractions, and we're going to use just our skills to determine which one is greater. So first, let's try to change these into mixed numbers. So 29/7, we're going to group count by sevenths. Use your fingers, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. Too high, so we're at 28, which is, count your fingers, 4 whole pieces. And what's the difference between 28 and 29? 1/7. Now 31/8, we're going to count by eighths. 8, 16, 24, 32. Too high, we go back to 24. And we have 3 whole pieces. And what's the difference between 31 and 24? 7/8. So by doing this, which is greater? We don't really need our fractions anymore, because if we look at the whole numbers, 4 is greater than 3, which means that 29/7 is 4 whole pieces and 1/7. 31/8 is 3 whole pieces and 7/8. So 29/7 is greater than 31/8. Just by looking at those whole numbers, 4 is greater than 3. Now if we look at this, so look at the whole numbers, 5 and 5. We can't really determine which one's greater by looking at the whole numbers because 5 is equal to 5. 5 is not greater than 5, and 5 is not less than 5. 5 is equal to. So now we need to look at our fractions. What do you notice about these two fractions? I notice that they are both less than 1 whole, and I notice that they are both 1 away from being 1 whole. And if you think back to a lesson about the size of fraction pieces, 8 and 10. Remembering that the smaller the denominator, the larger the pieces. And the smaller the denominator, the larger the denominator, the smaller the pieces. We know that they're both 1 away from 1 whole, but this is 1 big piece away from 1 whole, and this is 1 small piece away from 1 whole. So 5 and 7/8 is less than 5 and 9/10, because if we were to picture this on a number line, we have between 5 and 6. If we partition this into eighths, Oh, that's way more than 8. Half, fourths, eighths. If we partition this into eighths, we land right here on 7/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But if we were to partition this same number line into tenths, my pieces aren't equal. I apologize. I better move them so they are. Whoops. Pieces aren't equal again. There, we got some equal pieces now. Anyway, I partitioned between 5 and 6. I have my half line. I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And 9/10 landed right here. Which is, they're both one away from one whole. They just need to make that last jump. However, 9/10 is a smaller jump, which means that it got closer to one whole than 7/8. Now looking at 43/8 and 35/6. We're going to change these into mixed numbers because just by looking at them, you can't really tell which one gets us there. So if we go with counting by eighths, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48. Well, that's a problem, so we gotta go back to 40. Which gives us 5 whole pieces. And how many left over? 3/8. Now if we go to 35/6, 35/6, we're going to count by 6, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. Too high, so we were able to go 5 whole pieces, and we would have 5/6 left over. So just by reasoning with our benchmark fractions, we can see here that 3/8 is less than 1/2. And 5/6 is greater than 1/2. And our whole numbers are the same. They're both 5. So that's why we were able to look at the fractions. Knowing that 3/8 is less than 1/2 and 5/6 is greater than 1/2, we know that 43/8 is less than 35/6. So that's where the use of benchmark fractions come in, because 1/2 would be 4/8, and this doesn't quite make it to 4. And 5/6, well, that's 1 away from 1 whole, so it must be more than 1/2. So it's greater than 1/2. So today's lesson is not groundbreaking new. You have all these skills. Now you're putting them into practice.